Hear Me See Me podcast is sponsored by Zenoti, the #1 cloud software for salons and spas. Because when people feel good, they find their greatness. I am Stuart Roberts, and I'm really excited to introduce my new podcast, Hear Me See Me. It's just over 5 years ago. I did something that changed my life. What it did, more than I could have ever realised, it helped me. I have met some absolutely amazing people. Some of the people that work in some of these places, many of them are volunteers, but some of them it is their job. I had this idea after being inspired by a guy in America I'd seen cutting hair on the streets and seeing the difference it made to the guys who were there. This is more than a job, this is a calling. Hello, this is Stuart from Hear Me See Me podcast, and today I'm with a lovely lady who I found very intriguing over Instagram, and she's going to share with you and me a sort of life's journey. Today I'm talking to Lulu McGuiness. How are you, Lulu?
I'm fine. I'm sort of fine.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm okay. Everyone's going on lockdown tomorrow, so...
Yeah, I've got a lot of friends in Dublin, like a lot of haircuts I'm seeing, and it seems to come quite quickly that, is it from midnight tomorrow, isn't it?
Midnight tomorrow, so I better rush to Aldi and do my food shopping.
Yeah.
Before the toilet rolls run out again.
Oh, God, yeah.
Joking aside. Joking aside.
I know. To be honest, I really feel for everyone out. I feel for you and for everyone out there.
Mm.
You know, like we've got all our restrictions over here. We've got everything going, but like the thought of going back into deep lockdown, it is quite daunting. You know.
Yeah, it is, and I live out in the sticks completely. I don't know if you can hear the silence.
Yeah.
So. It's just me and my husband. We're quite lucky because, we're not in a really bad situation financially, but it is very bad for a lot of people who, have to be locked indoors and not able to work, really. So a lot of shops closing down, restaurants, pubs. Our mainstay in Ireland is a pub.
Yeah.
So, So it's not great on that side, but on the other hand, 6 weeks, I know it sounds like a long time, but really, if it is going to make a difference, then fine,
Yeah.
We're all going to get through it somehow.
Yeah, of course. So let's before we get too far into COVID, because we're all
really.
Let's have a happy journey.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the little Lulu when she was young.
Lulu.
Where did it all start?
Little Lulu. Well, Lulu became my nickname because my real name is Ambrosia, which, as you know, Ambrosia Saccardus. Try saying that with a sandwich in your mouth at school. I used to get called all sorts of nicknames at school. As you can imagine, Ambrosia creamed rice and tapioca and semolina and you name it, I've had it. I'm born in London, immigrant parents, Cypriots, Greek Cypriots, a bit of Italian ancestry in there as well. And born in Soho, of all places.
Soho,
Old Compton Street.
Really?
Yeah. Wasn't actually born in Soho, but that's where we lived at the beginning.
Yeah.
When starting out. So, I look back and I think, oh my God, if only they were still there, if they only still had that flat.
Yeah.
But so that was the beginning. And basically, quite a strange upbringing, very strict upbringing in my day. When you're a child of immigrants, you have kind of a strange background. You know, they want you to be Greek, and they want you to fit into the English society, and they want you to speak Greek, and they want you to speak English, and they want you to do everything, which I endeavoured to do. So, I went to St. Martin's after a long and horrible, I hated my schools. Yeah. I got sent to all sorts of schools. Very hard to fit in. I never really fitted in. So there came the eccentricity from a very young age, you know. So anyway, after struggling with a lot of stuff at school, I ended up at art school.
Yeah.
And I didn't actually study fashion at all. I studied fine art, and which, as you know, is a bit of everything. I was slightly dyslexic, which I didn't find out until adulthood. So, it was something that you never really kind of talked about. Nobody really told you back in my day if you were dyslexic or not. So I didn't realise this until later on, because I really could never, ever sit down and study properly. I got my A-levels, but with it was hard.
Yeah.
But I didn't know why. And ironically, many years later, I took my son to see if he had a problem with learning, because he did have a lot of difficulties when he was young. And I ended up finding out that I was the dyslexic one. So, I loved art school, and it was total escape from me, from everything, really. So, yeah.
Do you think there's like, because it seems like something there of not belonging and not fitting in? And my kid keeps going back to be a young child in Soho. You don't imagine living there, do you? You don't imagine living in that.
No.
But to you it would have been normal. But from that...
up until I think I was about six or seven. So, they moved me out of there. I wish they hadn't. I do remember some really amazing things, though, like Berwick Street Market and all the little cafes. And my mum's uncle had a restaurant there, a Greek restaurant, and he kind of tended to be, I think he was kind of the one that took in all the refugees and, whoever came over from Cyprus and didn't have anywhere to eat or stay or whatever, he was like the guy to go to. So little things like that. And I had two very different parents. One was extremely strict, and my dad was very, very, I was an only child. I was, one daughter. They didn't want me to, go off the rails, as it were, which I didn't, to be fair. Not then. Right. It was hard being pulled from left, right and centre. My mum wanted me to be a school teacher and to get married and have 10 kids. And, and I just wanted to paint and do artistic things, But my mother was the one that was in the rag trade, ironically. It was probably because of her that I later on got involved in the fashion industry. My first job was a Harrods salesgirl, 16 years old.
Right.
So, I was always kind of into sales, and, Harrods was fantastic. It was brilliant to work there. Saturday girl.
Especially at 16, like it.
Oh, yeah. Brilliant. I mean, 16 and, back in the day, obviously it's not the same today, but you had to be a public school girl. They wouldn't take you from a comprehensive.
Really?
Yeah, really snobby.
Yeah.
Really. They used to separate everybody in the different departments, so you kind of didn't really mix with the girls in the beauty department. It sounds bad. Yeah, really bad.
That's how it was, isn't it? It's hard to imagine now. It wouldn't be that, wouldn't be okay now, but it was a different world.
Yeah. This is not being I mean, it was really strange for people because I wasn't from an upper class background.
No.
You know, I was from a working class background, really. And, you know, everybody I worked with was from a public school. I just happened to go to a public school because my dad sent me to one, but because they didn't have more kids, so I was slightly privileged in that way. But, you know, it was just really strange because, you know, my accent's mellowed now. I used to have a very posh accent. Got rid of it. I got rid of it slightly.
Mine's a bit like that.
I don't know. Well, yeah. I'm very good at picking up accents. It's one of my husband. He hates it when I do it. I tend to. If you talk to me for another half an hour, I'll start talking like you.
Oh, you mate. Oh, right. Nice.
Yeah, I will.
By the end of this, you'll be an Essex bird.
Totally. Oh no, wrong colour hair, isn't it?
Totes a maze.
No. God, that was a really bad remark. No. I tend to pick up accents. The only accent I can't really do is the Irish, and I live here.
Right. Yeah. It's so strong though, isn't it?
Oh, it really, and Donegal. I mean, Donegal is just, you know, because we're in the Republic, as you know, but we're closer to Northern Ireland, and Donegal is quite they have their own kind of strong accent, you know. So I find myself apologising for my accent to people. It's really sad, isn't it? It's like, I'm actually Greek. I don't really sound like this.
You'll probably be better accepted if you're Greek than English.
Oh, stop it! I know. Don't even go there. Don't even go there.
Because it's still quite strong, isn't it? I know. I've got relatives in Ireland, and I've been there, but I was quite shocked when someone didn't like me because I was English. I was quite taken aback. You know, like, oh, what's this all about?
Well, let me tell you something. It's very strange with me because I left London. We keep going off on tangents, by the way, but I left London when I was 21, 22. And I moved to a tiny little island, again, that was divided down the middle because Cyprus was also, it had been invaded in 74. So the north of Cyprus is obviously, as you know, Turkish.
Yeah.
And the southern part is the Greek part.
Yeah.
So I lived in the Greek part, but again, you know, that another divided island with the difference that the island is got a hard border, and here we obviously don't have a hard border, thankfully. But yeah, and then I end up moving to another place, which is, you know, Northern Ireland, Southern Ireland, and it does get political, of course.
Yeah,
you know.
Of course, yeah. It's there. You can't ignore it. My dad, he because there was so you said it was in 74. There was some trouble in Cyprus, but it must have been some time before that as well. Sorry, there must have been some time before that as well.
Oh yeah, there was. Well, I wouldn't be. My husband would know more than me, ironically, because he's the journalist and the historian in the family. But yeah, before then, there were troubles. There were troubles, as it were.
Yeah. Well, my dad was in the army, and I was born in 62, so it would have been quite a bit before that, 10 years before that, probably.
Yeah.
So probably mid-50s. And he was out there serving, and evidently it was quite nasty out there. It got there was quite.
I know.
He did see active service out there.
Where do you remember where he was?
He was in Nicosia, I think.
Nicosia, which is where I lived. Well, you see, the Greeks would have wanted the Brits out because it was under British rule.
Right, I see.
It was a British colony. So unfortunately, your dad was obviously there when it was a British colony, and very similar. I mean, it's very similar to here. You know, they just didn't. They wanted their independence, which they did eventually get.
Yeah, of course.
And there would have been a big group of people that would have been very anti-Brit.
Yeah. Well, if you'd have met him, you would have been as well. He was a bit of a nuisance. But he was Scottish. Even worse, he was Scottish, my dad.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I think the Greeks get on with the Celts, you know.
Yeah.
It's just a very delicate, you know, I don't wish it on to anybody being the child of an immigrant, of immigrants that, you know, doesn't really quite have an identity.
Yeah.
I never, ever really had an identity. I still feel like that now. And, you know, whatever I've done in my life, I've always, thankfully, you know, persevered and been quite successful at.
Yeah.
But always with a huge struggle, always. And never, you know, I've always battled my, you know, doing things for myself without anybody's help. And, you know, Greek families and Italian families and Cypriot Mediterraneans in general, they're very they can be quite controlling.
Yeah.
And it's great that they all stick together and they, you know, they want to help and whatever, but it's never unconditional, I found.
Yeah.
So
controlling behaviours like that, isn't it? And it as human beings, it forces us a little bit to rebel anyway.
It does. Yeah, absolutely.
The more control you've got imposed on you, the more independent you want to become.
Well, you know, I'm saying this in public, and my kids are probably going to hear it at some point, but I rebelled a lot. I used to, you know, creep out the house and go and see what was going on in the world, because, you know, what was I missing out in London, especially in the 80s, you know?
Yeah.
So, and there was one more Cypriot guy, actually, who at that time, we didn't know each other then, but we met many, many, many years later. And he's a Cypriot like me. I don't know much about his background, but he would have been one of the guys that would have gone to the Blitz Club. I don't know if you've heard the Blitz.
I used to go.
You used to go as well?
Steve Strange was on the door.
Yeah, Steve Strange on the door. Marilyn, Boy George.
Yeah, George was there. I used to be a hairdresser working with Roy Hay, and he formed the band with George. He wrote a lot of the music with George.
Oh, brilliant.
So the time when they all came together.
Yeah. And, see, I would have known Boy George and Marilyn when they were living in Fulham.
Right.
You see, for a while, I mean, we could talk about this for ages, but I was always like the one that didn't dress up crazily. I would have been a little bit more, not conservative. I had my own style, but I didn't ever go crazy, because obviously I had to go home and wash the makeup off.
So did I. My dad was in the army.
Yeah.
I used to have to put your makeup on around your makeup.
Today, no makeup today, but I tell you what, used to go home with and wash off all the red lipstick, you know. Because I used to love going to the King's Road and buying all the 1950s kind of. In those days, we didn't call it vintage; it was second-hand. Flip of Hollywood in Covent Garden.
Flip. Yeah.
Liberated Lady, get all the stilettos. I used to wear the very 1950s kind of Sophia Loren stuff, you know, Marilyn, that kind of stuff. So, but I never went mad with the hair, because I had to go home, and my hair was always really long, you know. There it is, still there. Lockdown hair, I call it. Hasn't been cut yet. So I would creep back into bed and pretend nothing had happened. Nobody noticed.
Yeah.
Great stuff, you know.
It's funny, isn't it? It's a funny thing. And it's like we always think we're the first ones to ever do anything, don't we? You know, like, and it's been for centuries. You know,
I know. And you know, one thing I have to say, I thankfully didn't get involved in any drugs or drinking.
Yeah.
I was one of the lucky ones in that way, that I didn't have to, you know, I didn't get involved in something that I had to try and get out of.
Yeah.
So I had a clear mind. I could see everybody else totally off their heads on something, but I always had to have a clear head. So I was the sensible one in that way.
That's a blessing, because I mean I'm the opposite. So I've forgotten a lot, you know, and half of the 1990s I've got no clue of, and I've met people who really know me, I've got no clue who they are. They tell me all these, and they go, I've got no clue. And it's a wasted experience, really, because
it is.
You need to be present in these things, don't you?
Well, you know, it's really funny because I remember so many people, and I bet you they don't even know who I am. I mean, who would remember Ambrosia? You know, seriously, I just think, oh, my God, but I know you. I remember you, you know. Funny enough, though, many, many years later, I mean, how old is Facebook now? I never got involved in Facebook at the beginning. And the story behind Lulu McGuiness, a friend of mine set it up for me. And I said, do you know what? I don't really want to do Facebook.
Yeah.
I don't really have anyone to look for. I keep in touch with my friends on the phone, you know. So we're talking, I don't know, late 90s, early 20s. I can't remember how old it is, but and she set it up for me and called me Lulu McGuiness, and it just stuck. It just stuck, and just the fact that she used McGuinness. And then later on, obviously, I met my now Irish husband. People think that his surname is McGuinness, and it's not. Poor guy's, but his surname is Myles, you know. It doesn't even sound Irish. But, so I got given that name later on. But, yeah, going back to reinventing myself all the time was because, you know, that was just the artistic side of me. I just, you know, went through art school, came out. I actually lost a year. I did actually miss a year, and I had to go back a year later to finish my degree. I had a big year out where a few things happened, and I wasn't able to do my degree. So, but I luckily I got myself back in. I had a great tutor who helped me get back on the course again. So, yeah. And I was there when Jarvis Cocker was there.
Really?
Yeah, but you see, there's a big sort of thing about that. He was there, but there was a kind of big controversy because when I was doing my degree the first 2 years, I was the only Greek girl at St. Martin's in my course.
Right.
And then many, many, many years later, there was this big thing, probably pre-internet and Google, you know, the song Common People, as you know.
Yeah.
Is it Ambrosia? You know, the Greek girl. I'll be very flattered if I was his muse. I don't know. Really don't know. It's all left question marks. So, yeah.
It's so intriguing.
Well, you know, I can't really say much because, yes, I did know him, but I didn't know him that well. So, yeah. You've got a really strange smile on your face. Yeah.
I've got a very vivid imagination. That's all I can say.
You obviously have, yeah. So I took myself off to Cyprus after that anyway.
Did you?
Yeah.
Where did you then get back into the fashion industry?
When I moved to Cyprus, because I worked as a Saturday girl at Harrods for quite a few years.
Yeah.
From the age of 15, 16. I think I worked right up until the end of my degree. So I would have been 19 and still doing summer jobs there and Saturdays and stuff like that. So I actually got myself onto the window dressing team. And I did that without getting paid. I just helped out with the windows. And this was probably at a time, I think Mary Portas of the Mary Portas fame, she must have just left when she was pre-me. She was there before me. But they had a great window dressing team. And it was basically, the two shops then were Harvey Nichols and Harrods. And I suppose Selfridges later on, Liberties was always around. But for windows, Harrods was the one that you went to for, to see their Christmas windows. So I had a lot of training with them. And I loved the retail. I loved retail. I worked in every single department in Harrods, every single one, apart from the beauty department, because I just hated that you had to have makeup on all day.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And I just couldn't have seen myself spraying people with perfume. And
no.
if you like to smell perfume, I don't think. So, I mean, my favourite was men's underwear. What? I loved the men's underwear department. It was fabulous.
Why?
Cashmere socks. I met so many members of the royal family. I could tell you some stories.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've met fabulous people in there. Yeah, they used to come and buy their cashmere socks. You've got a dirty mind. Cashmere socks before they went skiing.
Right.
So, I mean, by the dozen. I mean, yeah. And I learned all these, different words for for cotton. So the fil de corse socks, which was whatever that means. Fabulous cotton and linen socks and underwear, you know. And I had a fab boss. I can't remember his first name. It was St. John, something St. John. He was so posh. I loved him. Yeah, brilliant. And he said, Ambrosia, you're folding let me teach you how to fold those socks properly, darling. You're not doing it properly. So how to fold T-shirts and, vests and things. Yeah, I love that department. Did the fruit and veg.
Right.
I used to make milkshakes for Michael Caine and his wife every Saturday. Oh. If I was at the Soda Bar, the Soda Stream Bar, I don't know if it exists anymore. So yeah, I was a mobile sales girl. Was flitted around Harrods. So
yeah. It brings back memories of that time, doesn't it? And
yeah, brilliant.
We've still got the superstores, but they haven't got that. They haven't got that personality that they
no, not at all. You gave people special service. I mean, it didn't matter whether they had £5 to spend, or whether they had 5 million. Seriously, I could tell you some stories. We had there was a pet department where you could hire a pet for the day from London Zoo. I'm sure it doesn't happen anymore.
I think no.
So I worked in the flower department, the Christmas wrapping department, which was unbelievable.
I mean, it was chaotic, wasn't it?
Chaotically, I mean, it was anxiety from the moment you weren't allowed to show the sellotape. You had to double it over and stick it down. Yeah, and then tie all the string and the ribbons, and people had to order. It was just the amount of money people spent on the outside of the package was just incredible. They used to buy the most expensive paper and ribbon, for something that maybe have cost less than the wrapping, Really? So, yeah, it was great. It was great. I really loved it. And so straight after my degree, I found a job that was going to get me out of London. I really wanted to take a year out and go, leave the UK. And I was offered a job with Next PLC. Right. Now, at that time, it was a guy, the head of Next was George Davis.
Yeah.
Do you remember George?
I vaguely remember the name, yeah.
Of George Davis at Asda today.
Oh, right, now I do know the name, yeah.
Yeah, so at that time, George Davis would have been the head of the next PLC group.
Right.
They were based up in Leicester. I didn't even know where Leicester was. I'd never even been, seriously, I hadn't been that far north ever. And I did my training with them. I did some window training with them and some managerial training with them. And I got offered this job to go and open the shops up in Nicosia, Cyprus. Help them with the opening. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. Young
woman, 22, suddenly thrown into managerial status. I loved it.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so that's where it all started. And I opened up, obviously with a team of other people. We had 2 shops in Nicosia, menswear, ladieswear. Then we opened another one in another town in Limassol. It didn't last very long. I wasn't there that long. I was there for maybe a year.
Yeah.
Before I became a freelance window dresser.
Right.
And I basically, I decluttered everybody's window in Nicosia because they were awful. 1986 windows in Nicosia. I'm sorry if anyone's listening to this that has a shop there. Well, they're probably all gone now, but the mannequins were awful. They still had false eyelashes on and wigs and stuff, and they were all a bit, you know. So, yeah, I kind of minimised everybody's windows, and I became quite a good little window dresser. I was doing about 15 shops at one time, all on my own. Yeah, it was great.
What made you go being freelance then? Why did you? Because you had security with, obviously.
You know what? The owner, because God, you probably, can you see me? Yes, you can. Yeah. Well, at that time, it was a very, Next was something really new. It was a fabulous company to work for then. But a couple of the people that were in there were a bit dodgy.
Oh, right.
Say no more. And I just couldn't see it last. And lo and behold, it actually didn't. It closed after a few years.
Yeah.
And it was off the market for a few years more before somebody brought it back again. And in the meantime, I just went off and did my freelance work. Do you remember Woolworths?
Yes. Love Woolworths.
Woolworths, yeah. I basically did their windows in Nicosia.
Right.
But Woolworths then in Nicosia was quite a posh shop. It wasn't, it was, yeah. Pick and mix.
I know, it's all I think of is pick and mix.
Pick and mix, I know.
It's just pick and mix, isn't it?
Yeah, but it was the posh shop of Nicosia because it was the only shop that had lots of different things, different departments.
Yeah.
So it had the biggest windows, and I could do the most. I could get creative in their windows. I did it at a time when nobody did kind of wow windows for Christmas. So.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I was given the tiniest of budgets. I mean, Harrods, we were dealing with hundreds of thousands. And then suddenly I was working for someone who said, I'll give you what do you need for Christmas? A few £100? What can you throw up, throw together?
Skinny little tree.
Oh, stop it. I had to make everything out of polystyrene and paint it. Yeah.
Limitation leads to creation.
Oh, absolutely. I've got to tell you the most inventive thing I ever used, and that was we had to hang baubles on a tree outside the shop, but so people wouldn't nick them back in the day. I mean, why they would nick baubles off a tree, I don't know. But she didn't, my boss didn't want me to put expensive decorations on this tree. And I went and bought all the, that round thing in the toilet cistern?
Oh, yeah.
I know. Lots of gold spray paint.
Yeah.
And hundreds of those plastic cistern things. because this tree was massive. So, they look good.
It looked good and it smelled good.
Oh, stop it. Toilet cleaner. So, yeah. And fast forward a few years, I then approached French Connection in London.
Right.
And said, how about we work together? And I became the French Connection shops in Cyprus, basically, after that.
Oh, right.
From 1989 until 2004.
Yeah.
And then from 2004 onwards, I was the agent for Cyprus. And for a short while, I was also the agent for Greece.
Right.
And I took on some other British brands after that. And I was the agent. So I had a lovely showroom and they used to pop over. You see, things have changed now. There's no such thing as agencies anymore. No fashion agencies anymore.
No.
Yeah, so...
different time in it now.
Lots of wonderful memories of French Connection.
Yeah.
So,
yes, another thing, isn't it? It's like, and that creativity that you showed at an early age, it's something you can always express throughout all of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I never thought of myself as more than a shop girl, really.
Yeah.
Even though it was a very successful business and a very successful brand, it gave me the amazing ability of popping on a plane every month and Great Portnoo Street were our head offices then.
Yeah.
I knew the owner very, very well because my mother worked for him before I came along. So, she worked with him from the late 60s. So I had kind of a connection there, ironically. But, it gave me some amazing chances and I worked for some amazing people. And, when you own stores, this is what you said earlier, it was very personal before.
Yeah. Now
everything is online. You don't even have to visit a store. There's no customer service really in a normal high street store.
No.
I'm not saying that in a nasty way. Today you walk in and, it's hardly are you being served.
I know. And it's the change in the change of habits. It had changed an awful lot before lockdown, hadn't it? It changed an awful lot before 2020.
Yeah,
It's pounded it now. And this lockdown mentality and the thing of change has become, people have changed their habits.
They have.
It's going to be some time, before it comes.
A few years, I think. I mean, people are saying, support little businesses. I totally agree. I do support local and I do support small businesses. I always have. Yeah. Because I've, apart from French Connection, I had another little business going as well, which was kind of a lifestyle store for quite a few years. I helped a lot of people by organising a handicraft, one of the only handicraft markets of its time in Nicosia, to help people who couldn't afford to have their own stores. Yeah. Rent little tables from me and set up, and I would do the rest. I did all the advertising and the lighting and the music and everything else that needed to be done I did. And a lot of the time I actually didn't really charge some people because I knew they were struggling, Yeah. But they needed to get their stuff out there and to showcase it. And so, I did my bit for society in Nicosia, in Cyprus. But at the same time, previous to that, I also had great fun running, the businesses and having 3 kids at the same time. That was hard as well.
Yeah.
So it was interesting.
Because going as the things are now, your Instagram, we have a very similar taste, because you just keep putting on these iconic images. And I just love some of the images you put on.
Thank you. I have got a huge archive of my secret wish, really, and I just never did it. Life takes over, tragedies take over, good, happy, you know how it goes. My secret wish was I would have loved to have been an art director. If I could have been offered a job like that, but I was just never at the right place, right time, you know. I've done quite a lot of photo shoots and stuff, but within French Connection and within the company, back in the day when we had the by mail catalogue, you know, before online business and stuff like that. And I remember Kate Moss when she was 17.
Really?
Yeah, one of her first. I mean, I was at the shoot when she did a shoot for FC before Calvin Klein took her. And I still got the slides. We worked with. I've still got the little slides and everything. I remember so vividly what she was wearing. But you know, this is what going back to what we said before. I'm not fazed by celebrity at all. I remember people being normal people back in the day. They were just people that you worked with, and you came across. I'm sure you've come across, you know, hundreds of celebrities in your lifetime. You just deal with them as people, as normal people, which they are.
Yeah, and I found that. See, I was taught a long time ago, never look up or down.
No, absolutely.
I think if you are like that, people tend to feel more relaxed with you anyway.
Yeah.
Because I don't try not to put people on pedestals, and I really try never to look down at anyone. And people, as you say, people are people. You know, we're all human beings.
Absolutely.
Same insecurities, the same daily problems as we have. And it's just sometimes they've got a very different life, a very surreal life.
Absolutely, that's the only difference, that they just have a different life. We all have different lives, you know. And you know, social media has changed people's lives a lot. I keep in touch now with a lot of people that I lost touch with. From way back in the 80s, that we've discovered each other again and chatting away. We're all older. We're all in our 50s now. And we've all been through all sorts of things, you know, good and bad. People, as you say, are people, and we have all been through a bad time this year, whoever we are. You know. I mean, there's only one positive that came out of it for me. I've been in lockdown for 3 years because of where I am. It hasn't felt that much different. Because we moved out in the sticks completely, totally remote. I changed. For personal reasons, our whole life changed completely. And but it's calmed me down. I accept so much more than I used to accept. You know, the downside about being here is the rain all the time. I don't like the rain.
It's always rain there. That's why it's so green, isn't it? It's why it's the Emerald Isle. It's because it's pissing the rain all the time.
Exactly. That now, as a friend recently, she's got her own podcast, and she recommended all this rain gear. And I thought, well, who, you know, and I found myself sitting on the internet one night thinking, oh, how exciting can you make a cape that's But I found myself buying one because I thought, you know what? I'm going to get out there. I can't stay stuck indoors all the time. I've got to do this. And I bought myself a funky cape, which is still in the post. It hasn't arrived yet. Watch this space.
I will. I want pictures. I want pictures of the cape.
You know me. I don't really put pictures of myself on Instagram.
It's always like Audrey Hepburn or someone else.
That's it. Yeah. Absolutely. Some gorgeous Jean Seaborg or somebody. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. I promised a rain hat. I've got a rain hat here, actually, that I put on when I go out. But what can I do? It's not my favourite thing to do, walk in the rain.
But having said, there's no such thing as bad weather, just the wrong clothes. I think Jimmy really
Somebody famous said that. Yeah, you're right. I don't know if I agree with it completely.
No. Yeah, it's all right till you're out in it. Yeah. I like the sound of it on the windows when I'm in by a warm fire. That's what I prefer.
Absolutely. It or on a Calm app or whatever.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. Pay a subscription to hear the noise of what I get every day. No, you've got joking aside, first year I thought I was going absolutely bonkers.
Yeah.
Because it was such an extreme change for me.
Culture shock, yeah.
Being with people all day. I'm not with people all day. I've got my dog and my husband, who's hiding away at the moment, by the way.
Yeah, he's doing a good job, yeah.
He's doing very good. He's doing very well. He's locked himself up in his office. He flies planes.
Does he?
Yeah, his office looks like this amazing, what's it called? A flight simulator.
Yeah.
You walk in there and it's just little lights, and he's found his escape.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's got one of those 3D things.
Oh, is he?
Amazing.
Whatever works. Whatever floats your boat.
Whatever floats your boat. Me, at the moment, I am writing a novel.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
What theme is that?
Okay. I'm hoping it gets published. Any publishers out there?
Yeah. What's his face?
I did write one in the past.
Right.
But we didn't go mainstream publisher because nobody was interested. So we published with a publisher which was ironically called Lulu.com. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was publishing on demand. So it went on Amazon and Kindle and whatever. But it was kind of written a little bit ahead of its time, I think. There was a lot of sex in it.
Oh, right. Little bit. 50 Shades, was it a little bit?
No, it was pre-50 Shades. It was pre-50 Shades. See, it was a bit ahead of its time. Right. So that was called Greek Girls Don't Cry.
Oh, right. I shall look it up.
Look it up, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if it's still... I shouldn't have told you, but I have now. That was a long time ago, because amongst the many things I did when I was in Cyprus, I also wrote social columns for 6 years.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, which was real fun. That was amazing. I wrote under my real name, Ambrosia.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was 6 years of weekly columns, and that's how I got into writing.
Right.
That was my escape from fashion.
Oh, you're in the perfect environment now to write, though, aren't you? I mean,
yeah, I have to sit down and do it because I can be so lazy.
Yeah.
I mean, you and me could talk all day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, you've got to be very disciplined.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've set myself.
Time.
Yeah, I've set myself every morning. I get up at 5.
Right.
And I do as much as I possibly can in the morning.
Right.
So while you're sleeping.
Yes, you're right.
I'm tapping away.
Yeah. And how's it going?
It's hard because it's a novel, but it's going to have a lot of truths, real life stuff in there as well.
Yeah.
And I hope it will help a lot of people because it's a lot of personal experiences in there that might hit home with some people.
Well, you'll probably find the first person it helps is you, because That is cathartic, isn't it? Getting that stuff out.
Totally. Have you written anything?
I've written lots of things in my time. In a healing way. So, you know, like, you know, I because of I'm 14 and a half years sober. Part of what we do is you have to keep putting pen to paper. So it's not full. I've got a novel in me. Whether it'll ever get out.
We all have. I know.
I was freelance hairdresser for 5 years. I was like,
I think you
do about that.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Wow. You know what?
War and Peace.
War and Peace. Yeah. You do an amazing job, though. I mean, I'm turning the spotlight on you for a second. An amazing job, and I secretly try to help a hell of a lot of people here. Yeah. I don't mean secretly in a secretive way. I mean, I try. I do get involved in mental health issues. Yeah. You know, it can affect anybody at any time.
It definitely can. It can. I meet some of the people I meet in when I go out and do what I do. They're the most unlikely people you would think to end up in that position. Yeah. And that's and it's a lesson to us all that you know, no matter where you're from, what your circumstance, you can be flawed by that stuff. Yeah, absolutely. The biggest thing's communication is to reach out and constantly let people know how you are, and you know, never bottle it all up. And there is always a solution. There's always a solution to anything, you know. Yeah. It's so important to stay in touch with people as well. You know, people get very involved in their own lives, and you know, I make sure I mean this, whether they reply or not. Every day I will text, you know, most of my friends and just 2 words, you know, have a good day. I don't expect one back, but because I know people are busy. But you know, sometimes even though you don't speak to someone for a very long time, you can feel sometimes that something's going on, and you just need to reach out and say hi. You know, how are you? Haven't heard from you for a long time. Just because you just don't know how people are feeling or what they're thinking, or, you know, just takes a split second to think something bad. And you don't want it to be too late for someone, you know. Of course. So. For sure. Well, my lovely Lulu, we've been around about the hour. Yeah, it flies, doesn't it? Time flies. Yeah, it was really strange, me like flitting in and out of my past. As you said, I remember most of mine. Yes, yeah. Some of mine is probably best forgotten. Well, I think we all lock a little bit of our past away. Oh, I don't know. Yes. I feel like I've had like 3 lifetimes. I've had 3 different separate lives that you know, they're all so different, and this one, I mean, now is quite different. But is it the best one? I think it is, to be honest. That's how I feel at the moment. That I'm living my best life, and my children have grown up. Yeah. I haven't got grandkids yet, but you know, I'm hoping that my kids have learnt a lot from their parents' life. Yeah. And that they can get on with it safely, you know, and I don't know, with lots and lots of love. I let my kids decide for themselves at the end of the day what they want to do, you know. It's interesting because I think what you summed up at the beginning with your parents, I had a similar thing with mine. I had a very strict dad and a very sort of caring mum, and you know, and I've allowed my kids to be who they are. And I think that's it. When you makes you realise what you want for your own kids, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Away from what my parents, they did what they could with the hand they were dealt at the time.
That's right, absolutely.
I think my kids have found their own way. You know, so I've got 5.
Oh wow!
3 grandchildren, so I'm kept very busy. I know. Yeah, I'm kept very busy. So
lots of love to them all.
Yes, and to yours. Well, Lulu, it's been emotional.
I know. It's been great. I loved it.
Yeah,
we haven't had a coffee together, have we?
No, it's like a virtual. This is our version of a coffee. But one day I will come and visit Donegal when I'm over at. Please God, when I'm back to Haircuts from the Start.
Well, you know the Black Barn is right next door. You stay there.
Yeah, I shall come and visit and have a coffee.
Absolutely.
And you know where I am.
I will.
Only.
Yeah. No, same to you. Lots of love and carry on the brilliant work.
Thank you. Much love, my darling. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Just over 5 years ago, I did something that changed my life. What it did, more than I could have ever realised, it helped me. I have met some absolutely amazing people, some of the people that work in some of these places. Many of them are volunteers, but some of them, it is their job. This is more than a job, this is a calling.